We are 50% female in all the creative roles, and our writer's room is 100% female.
Diversity is a good thing, but there are right and wrong ways to do it, in my opinion. Now, before you say, "Hang on, just a robot, aren't you a white cis robot man? Do you really think you're the best person to speak on this topic?" Maybe, maybe not, but that's for you to decide after you finish watching this video. Sorry, but me being the wrong race or gender is not an argument.
I think this guy's a lost cause.
If you disagree with anything I say in this video, you're more than welcome to come up with an argument to try to debunk me. But me being this race or that gender means I know more about this topic than you. Cool, then you should have no problem coming up with an argument to debunk me. In the 1980s through the 1990s, tons of shows were all about diversity when it came to race. But they just made a rainbow of all the different races of people. Think of things like Captain Planet, Magic School Bus, and other shows like that. You know what I'm talking about. You had the everyman white guy as the leader, the Asian who was either smart or really good at fighting, the cool black guy, the kid in a wheelchair, and of course, girl. In the early 2000s and also the late 90s, we had what I like to call reverse stereotypes. Mostly things like the smart black guy. Think of characters like Tucker from Danny Phantom, AJ from Fairy Odd Parents, Brain from Arthur the Aardvark, and others like that. I already did a full video on the topic, if you want more info. I can understand why any race, gender, or sexual orientation wants representation. While people do have tons of characters who look like them. Even anime characters look white when they're supposed to look Asian. And before anyone says,
They look Asian to me.
Sailor Moon has blonde hair and blue eyes. Shut the fuck up and stop lying to yourself. There's also talks about how much one group of people should be represented over another group of people. When you get down to it, most people in the world are Asian. About 13% of the USA is black, but only about 5% are Asian. I think like 1.4% of people are trans, and there's certainly a lot more gay people. I could go on, but the point I'm making is how much should one group be represented over another group? Should every group of people be represented equally? Or should we represent groups more depending on how many there are of that group? The answer to this is, I don't fucking know. I do, however, know that the answer to this question is a hell of a lot more complicated than just saying, more diversity good. In my opinion, diversity is better when it's explained. I do not have to have an explanation for certain things, like the diversity in something like, I don't know, Star Trek, because they're in the future, and teleportation is a very common thing in that universe. So it makes sense to me why there's so much diversity. But in something like Game of Thrones, most characters in Westeros are white, which makes sense, because they grew up in a cold place in the world. And other races of people come from different parts of the planet, like the Dothraki. They are darker because they come from a desert continent. But in the Netflix show The Witcher, there are black people in the background for some reason. Why? I don't know. Almost every place The Witcher goes looks almost as diverse as New York City.
Forget about it. So
do the black people at least do anything? Well, I think 2 of the black elves do something, but that's it. All the main characters are white, but the extras in the background are black. I talked about this before in my race bending video, and some people took me out of context. A video was made by some guy that is now down that claimed I wanted segregation. They took out what I said about Game of Thrones, by the way. Why am I bringing this up? Because if you don't toe the line of certain opinions, you will get slandered while talking about topics like this. So let's all be adults here. and not take anyone out of context. I'm not just asking my wife, honey, why are there blacks on my TV? Okay. I also want to make it clear that I've only seen season 1 of The Witcher. I haven't seen season 2 yet, so if there are minority characters who do more than just stand in the background or be silent bodyguards, then cool. I'm happy that they got better representation in season 2. And to anyone who's going to say, but it's a world full of griffins and magic, can't you just accept that black people and white people are living together? Well, in the Witcher lore, there are darker skinned people who come from other places in the world. And yes, witches and wizards can teleport in this world, but it's not as common in this world as it is in Star Trek. Plus, you can't just use your headcanon to explain things. I'm just saying, having different races of people come from different parts of the world adds more to the lore, and also shows off different cultures. I would love to see a Black Kingdom in The Witcher, with castles made of coral. This is a real thing, you can look it up. Anyways, race bending, or gender bending, or even sexuality bending a character is really where people start having a problem with diversity. The golden crown of race bending goes to the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender movie. They somehow got, like, every race of the characters wrong. Katara and Sokka are white when they are Inuit, and most people weren't into it.
Mày coi chừng mày chết với tao nha mày.
The Firebenders are Indian. Other than Ong, everyone doesn't look like how they should, and that's a problem. I don't see Zuko, or Katara, or Sokka. I see someone playing them. But maybe that's why they all have name changes. In the first Doctor Strange movie, the Sorcerer Supreme Sandwich was a white woman, when in the comics, they were an Asian man. How do you get both race and gender wrong? Now, to be fair, there's not a lot of Asian people in the USA, so there's not a lot of actors you could pick. But how cool would it be if Jackie Chan played him? He more than likely had other things to work on. Actors do have contracts after all, but still, it would have been badass. And the last movie I know about that got all of the races wrong was the Netflix adaptation of Death Note. Now I understand there's not a lot of Asian people in America, so they couldn't make everyone Asian. But Light Yagami is white, L is black, and there's also a whole bunch of other problems with this movie. In animation, you can make anyone whatever race you want, but in real life, you can only use the actors you have available. But people will still complain if a person voicing a certain character is not the right race. So yes, the biggest problem with changing a character's race or gender is that a lot of people won't see them as the character they are supposed to be.
Hey man, I'm sick of these Fortnite.
Even if you had a Harry Potter movie where Harry was played by a white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes, people would still have a problem because that's not how he looks on the cover of the book. In the fantasy version of Star Wars, also known as Aragon, the actress who played the princess' hair color was blonde, when in the book, it was black. But the actress's hair color is red, so they just got it wrong for no reason. Did people have a problem with this? Yes! So this is not always a race or gender thing. You can't just remake Old Yeller and use a different breed of dog. Sorry, I meant to say breed. There was a typo in my script. You can't just have the Beast and Beauty and the Beast look like a bat monster or something. And you can't just remake Lion King and have Pumbaa be a fucking boar. It just doesn't work. One argument I hear is, well, white people have tons of characters who look like them, so why can't we have just a few more who look like us? But not women. We have just as many, or at least almost as many female characters as we do male characters. Oh, and by the way, some people have said it's sus when I use the word female to describe women. I don't get it either, but female refers to both women and girls. I don't think it's sus if a woman calls men males. I just want to bring this up because I got a few comments from people trying to use me saying fucking females to discredit me. So now we get to the Little Mermaid being black. My YouTube friend Shady Doorag's a black guy did a very good video about it. So I think you guys should check it out. Link will be down below. His takeaway from her being black is that it wasn't a good change, as he doesn't see the Little Mermaid, he sees someone playing her instead, because it will distract you from enjoying the movie. You are just going to be thinking to yourself, why does she look different from how she did in the animated movie? Or, man, I can't believe all those racist people I don't like can't enjoy this movie like I do. Or, man, I can't wait to talk about the actor's skin color more than the movie itself. Those last few weren't Shady's points, they were mine. He also doesn't need a character to look like him to relate to them.
Come on, Shady, there are plenty of white princesses. How will little black girls be able to see themselves in Ariel if she doesn't look like them? The same way they did when the original came out? Personally, I will never understand the "they have to look like me in order for me to relate to them" mentality. Shoot, Static Shock is one of the blackest cartoons that ever blacked, with so many black characters a plantation owner would salivate. And you know who I related to most in that show? Richie, the white kid, because he was a nerd. Lots of people see themselves in characters for their personalities. If you require skin tone to relate to someone, that's on you.
I asked my roommate about this, and he also relates to the nerdy white guy more. But he also told me that he related to AJ even more due to him being black. So for some people, race is important to them to relate to the character, but it's not the only factor. Things like personality, background, and interest are normally more important, but looks do play a factor. So I went over how I think diversity is done wrong, but how do I think it's done right? Well, there's two shows that immediately come to mind: Cobra Kai and Glitch Techs. The two main characters in Glitch Techs are a Mexican guy and an Asian girl, and the Asian girl is actually the better fighter of the two. And the snobby douchebag rival is a black guy. Even the other side characters are pretty diverse. There's a Muslim girl who's quickly becoming a love interest to the Mexican guy. In Cobra Kai, we had Aisha, a plus-size black girl, Eli Moskowitz, aka Hawk, an autistic man, the main character Miguel, a Latino man from Ecuador, and the bully is a dumb Asian jock. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention that they recently added a black kid named Kenny. So why do I like the representation in these two shows as opposed to basically everything else coming out nowadays? Well, in something like Glitch Techs, yes, they're basically a rainbow of all the different races, but it feels more natural. Yes, technically their manager is white, but he's in the background for the most part. The focus is put on the two leads, one Asian and one Latino. There's not a black guy on the team, a white guy leading the charge, and a Native American guy screaming out "heart." The cocky rival being black is something I don't think I've ever seen in a black character before, at least in a cartoon. And the characters do have some stereotypical traits. The Mexican guy works in a taco truck and the Asian girl is good at video games, but they also have their own character and personality. The black guy who's their rival has a lot more personality and character development than Tila's black friend ever did. It just feels to me that Glitch Techs and Cobra Kai put writing a good story and good characters above diversity. It doesn't feel like they're saying, look how diverse our show is, you better like it, and if you don't, you're racist. The topic of representation is a hard one, and I don't think I have the answer for it. So make sure you see what others have to say, come up with your own opinion. But please, don't just dismiss people for being on the quote-unquote other side. And stop calling them things like SJWs or racist just for disagreeing with you. But one thing does seem really fishy to me. I still think that Disney is doing things like this to their live-action movies because people have had problems with their live-action movies from almost the very start. They played the woman card too much, and too many people picked up on it. So now they are moving on to using race as a shield from criticism. They will save LGBT people for last because they want to keep making money from the Chinese. China may not be the biggest fan of black people, but they hate LGBT people even more. But Disney is getting ready to use them by saying, the first gay character in a Disney movie ever, for like the 6th time. Remember, Disney doesn't care about black people people, or women. They know the actress for Ariel will get a lot of hate, and she'll have to deal with people calling her a not so nice word that starts with the letter N. Disney only cares about one thing, and that's making money. If they didn't, then they wouldn't be where they are today. They're just trying to make some discourse around their movies for some free advertisement. So to end this video off, I just want to thank everybody for helping me get to where I am today. To my editors, to my thumbnail makers, to my patrons, and to everybody who is watching this video right now. I'm still a little too nervous to take the leap into doing YouTube full time, but now I'm only working 2 days a week at my job. So I'm gonna have a hell of a lot more time to work on YouTube videos. For those of you who miss my drama videos, don't worry, next video is gonna be another drama video. But after that, I wanna do a full review of the She-Hulk show. And if both of those videos do really good, I think I can get back to work on fast fictional fights. I'm just so happy that my dream is finally coming true. And I just want to thank all of you for helping me reach this point.